Hey, what's up guys, Shashwat here back with another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Moto G4 Plus. So without wasting any time, let's just get into it. The Moto G series has one of the best budget phones ever made. So what does the newest Moto G offer? Well, let's check it out. Now the Moto G this time has two variants, the Moto G4 and the Moto G4 Plus. There is no major change except the Moto G4 having no fingerprint sensor, while the Moto G4 Plus having a fingerprint sensor. Other than that, the internal specifications are the same. Now what I have right here is the Moto G4 Plus with the fingerprint sensor. Now in the box you get the phone itself, you get some shaky headphones, you get the turbocharger using which the phone charges really quickly, and you get some manuals that I'm totally going to read. The phone has the classic Motorola dimple at the back that I really like and miss in phones that don't have it. The build quality is top notch. The buttons are tactile, it's nice to hold in the hand other than it being too slippery, and overall it's a nicely built phone. Now one gripe I have about the build quality is that the plastic at the back does not feel that good and you don't get a premium feel. I like the one they had in the previous Moto G and Moto X versions where it had a nice grip. It has a 3.5mm headphone jack on the top, then a micro USB cable on the bottom, and on the right it has the power button and the volume rockers. On the back it has the camera, the laser autofocus and the dual flash on top of the Motorola dimple. In the front you have an ear speaker which also functions as a normal speaker along with the 5.5-inch 1080 display that looks gorgeous and the fingerprint sensor. One thing I would like to add is that the fingerprint sensor is just a sensor and not a button. So if you have an app open, you have to use the capacitive touch buttons if you want to go back to the home, not the fingerprint sensor because it's not a home button. Now let's talk about what the phone is being praised the most for, the camera. The camera on this phone is really good, like really good. As I said earlier, the phone has laser autofocus, which means that camera will focus you really fast on the subject you want it to focus. Now this is an advantage because mostly tap to focus is not the way. But if you want to do that, you can do that too because of the camera app. Now while the front camera is nice, the rear camera is a champ. It performs really nicely in low light and light situations. Sometimes in low light situations, you don't even need to use the flash. And when you do need to use the flash for the rear camera, it's fine because the dual flash is incredibly bright. But the front camera does not have the same story. The front camera is average and it has good pictures in highlight situations, but in low light it fails. The camera app is also very nicely made. The camera app has 5 modes: video, photo, panorama, slow motion, and professional mode. Professional mode is basically manual mode, so you can change the ISO, exposure, white balance, focus, and a lot of other stuff. Now the professional mode is made so people can get the best out of the camera, and it's actually pretty good and you can use it nicely. The camera on this phone is the best in this price, and if you want to get the phone just for the camera, then get it right now after completing the review. Okay, so now let's talk about the battery life on this phone. This phone has a gigantic 3000 mAh battery. And while that sounds good on paper, it does not really perform that well. The battery life on this phone is mediocre at best. If you're watching YouTube videos, then this phone drains really fast. Once I watched 5 YouTube videos and the phone was at 90% and it went down to 80%. Now that's a drastic change just because of 5 YouTube videos, and I admit that I was using mobile data, but still that's a big. The phone is at around 10% with around 3 to 4 hours of screen on time depending on what you use. So with the battery life on this phone, you can start at the day and barely make it through the night. But if you wanted to make it through the night into the next day, then you probably won't have to use the phone that much. Now the turbocharger included is a big relief. The phone charges really fast with the included turbocharger. Once I had around 30% on my phone, I plugged in the turbocharger and 1.5 hours later it was at 70%. 50% in 1.5 hours, that's a high rate, and using that you can charge your phone to around full in 3 hours. You don't even have to plug it at night. So while the battery life is mediocre, the turbocharger balances it out. Okay, now let's talk about something the phone lacks or has, the heating issues. The phone heats up a lot. A few days ago, I was recording the footage of this phone outside, and while I was doing it, I was playing a game. Now that game caused the phone to heat up so much along with the sunlight that I couldn't hold the phone. That's how hot it became. Even when using normal things like Facebook, Instagram or YouTube in mobile, data heats up the phone a lot. So yeah, this phone has a ton of heating issues. Okay, so now let's talk about the software on this phone. The Motorola phones are known for having near soft Android on their phones and getting updates as soon as they launch. And this one is no different. The phone runs on the latest Android Marshmallow 6.2 and it runs really smoothly. Now while this phone does not have a lot of bloatware, it does have the Moto app, using which you can configure things like a karate chop for a flashlight or a shake for the camera. Let it load. Oh yeah. So these features are really helpful because they can just give you an extra advantage without being too bloatware-ish. And this is actually an accomplishment considering that now Lenovo has acquired Motorola, but still Motorola has its roots. Now it's running on Android Marshmallow right now and it will get Android N as soon as it comes out. Now let's talk about how this phone performs. This phone in day-to-day tasks is really snappy and games like Temple Run 2 and Alto run smoothly and without any problem. And yes, games like Asphalt 8 which require a lot of graphical power do stutter a bit, but it's not a major problem. The phone is smooth and by having 2 GB of RAM, you have no problem in the software. Normally it's really snappy and apps do not take a lot of time to load. As I said earlier, the phone has a fingerprint sensor and it's quite good. It works like a charm and adding fingerprints is just like for other phones and quite easy. Now I have a small problem with this phone, which is not actually a problem but something they chose. When you restart this phone, you cannot enter the fingerprint and you have to enter the pattern or password you have instead. This annoys me a bit because I just don't want to lose my pattern when I have restarted my phone and I want to use my fingerprint. But once you enter your pattern or password, it's no problem. Let's talk about the display on this phone. As I said earlier, it's not an AMOLED display, but the colors are still vibrant and it looks really good. Now the display is 5.5 inches, which is a tad bit too big for me. But that's according to personal preference, so if you like a 5.5 inch phone, then it's for you. But if you do not like big phones, then this might take a bit of getting used to. One of the biggest gripes I have with this phone is that it does not have a compass sensor. Now, I didn't even know that it did not have until one day I opened Google Maps and I could not see where I was facing. Now, that's because it does not have a compass sensor. The thing is that with a compass sensor, the phone can detect which is north, east, west and south. But without one, it does not know where it is. So you don't know where you are facing. It's a major problem if you want to use apps like Google Maps. And originally I thought it was a software bug, but then I googled some stuff and realized it wasn't. Just a big problem. Now this phone has a lot of features that a budget phone should have, like a great camera, a fingerprint sensor. With that it has a bunch of extra things like a removable back, and instead of a hybrid SIM slot, it has the feature so you can use 2 SIM cards and 1 micro SD card at the same time. And with that you also have no bloatware, near stock Android experience, and you're going to get all the updates. But with disadvantages and flaws like the heating issues, the battery problems, the phone could have been a little bit better. So should you buy this? Well, it depends on your priorities. Do you want a phone with the latest software and no bloatware, but you are okay with defects like heating and performance issues? Then you should definitely get this phone. But if you want some really good battery, some really good performance without heating, then you should not buy this. Anyway Okay guys, that was it for this video. Did you like it? Then please press the like button, and if you didn't, please tell me how I can improve in the comment section down below. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Meet you next time. The link to buy this one will be in the description below. Thanks for watching. I will meet you in my next video. Yep, that's it. Bye. Ciao. 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 Ciao.